guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. So I have permission from a bunch of different authors of their scary stories, and I'm really excited to jump into them. So I don't really have anything to ramble about today other than the fact that I have my wicked candle in here as per usual. It smells like caramel apples. I'm wearing a toque just that I got at a Halloween event that I went to last month, and I just didn't feel like putting on a wig and I didn't feel like doing my hair. So this is what we get. Let's just jump on into the first scary story. So this is from the Reddit author Blair Daniels, and the title of this one is I found a note that I don't remember writing. It was taped to the bathroom mirror at my eye level, covering up my reflection. 5 words. Don't look under the bed. I peeled it off the mirror and looked down at it. It was in my handwriting, my sloppy chicken scratch handwriting, more sloppy than usual, like I'd been in a rush writing it. I turned it over in my hands, confused. Don't look under the bed. I didn't remember writing it at all. Maybe I wrote it when I was half asleep? Weird. I walked back into the bedroom. Nothing looked amiss. Just my blue-gray comforter bunched up on one side, my pillow askew, a cup of water, and my phone at the nightstand. I began to crouch down. My dog barked. I ran down the stairs to find Sadie, scratching at the back door. You need to go outside. I glanced up at the clock. 12:23 p.m. How did I sleep so late? I let her out, then headed towards the kitchen. But as I got closer, the sour smell of decay hit my nostrils. My heart stopped as I stepped in. Red. Red everywhere. Splattered up the sides of the cabinets, pooling across the floor, I sucked in a breath to scream, and then spotted the jar of marinara. It was shattered in the middle of the floor. Red sauce splattered in every direction from that central point, covering half the kitchen. And as I looked around, there was the source of the smell. An opened package of ground beef on the counter. Beside it sat a half-diced onion, a teaspoonful of kosher salt, 2 wine glasses, one half-drunk. The other one sat on the kitchen table, along with my wallet and my keys. Did I have Henry over last night? Sadie's bark tore me from my thoughts. I let her in and then collapsed on the couch. What happened last night? I wasn't drinking. Maybe I hit my head? Maybe I dropped the marinara sauce, slipped in it, and my head hit the floor? Did I get a concussion? Did I go up to my bedroom and fall asleep? But then wouldn't there be sauce in the bed? I sighed and pulled out my phone. I gave my boyfriend Henry a call to see if he remembered anything. But as soon as I locked my phone, I saw the notification. 1 new voicemail. A chill ran down my spine. I called into the voicemail service and waited. Listen. Listen to me. My blood ran cold. It was my voice. As soon as you get up, get out of the house. Take Sadie and get out. Whatever you do not look under the bed. That was it. That was the whole message. A powerful feeling of derealization hit me. You probably know the feeling I'm talking about, that nothing is real. My entire life has been a dream. No one exists but me. It's usually just an intrusive thought, but now I felt like it was grabbing me by the shoulders and shaking me. I don't remember anything. Is this even real? Am I dreaming? I forced myself out of the train of thought and dialed Henry's number. The phone rang twice, 3 times, then it went to voicemail. Why aren't you picking up? I growled into the phone. The one time I need you. That was just like Henry. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and stared down at Sadie. She stared back at me with her big brown eyes. Get out of the house. Don't look under the bed. I forced myself off the couch. Okay, we're going to the dog park. Sadie sped by me like a bullet. Hands shaking, I grabbed my laptop and a few other necessities and shoved them into my bag. I pulled the strap over my shoulder, dialed Henry 1 more time, and prayed for him to pick up. There was a sound from upstairs. The sound of a ringing phone. Every muscle in my body froze. With shaking hands, I pressed the red end call, and a second later, the ringing ceased. Oh, God. I stepped onto the first stair. The old wood creaked underneath me. I took another step, then another, until I was standing motionless in the hallway. Don't look under the bed. I stepped forward. My hands shook as I reached for the doorknob, twisted it, pulled it open. I stepped into my room. It looked as it always had. The same comforter, the same items on the nightstand, everything the same. My gaze flicked to the dark shadows underneath the bed. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and dialed Henry again. Please don't ring. It rang from under the bed. My throat went dry. I slowly crouched down, my entire body shaking. My heart pounded as my hands splayed against the carpet, balancing myself. Please, no. It was him. His skin was pale, almost blue. The mattress pressed into his tall frame as if he'd been shoved and kicked under there until he fit. And his eyes were empty and lifeless, boring into me as though he knew what I'd done. I ran over to the bathroom and threw up, wiped my face off, gripped the bathroom sink to keep myself from fainting. Did I kill him? The half-drunk wine glass? Did I poison him? That had to be it. There was no blood. But why? Why did I do it? What happened last night? Sadie's bark was like a shock of cold water. I have to get out of here. I ran down the stairs. She was pawing at the front door. I stumbled back towards the kitchen. I need to get the keys. I ran back into the kitchen, and I carefully stepped around the shards of broken glass. The splatters of tomato sauce, I reached for the keys. And then something hit me. Not quite a memory, more of an intuition, a gut feeling. Like the memory was poking up from my subconscious, about to break surface. The salt. I ran over to the teaspoon of salt laying on the counter. Next to the cutting board, I slowly bent over so that I was eye level. It wasn't salt. It wasn't the coarse, irregular flakes of kosher salt I kept in a pig by the stove. It was a fine powder, and it smelled terrible. The memory hit me like a truck. Getting out of the shower, putting on my vampy lipstick, poking my head into the kitchen while Henry was making dinner for our 1-month anniversary. Stopping dead as he swirled white powder into the wine glass. Backing up, mind reeling, almost fainting, stumbling towards and hearing him call out my name. Carrie, you there? I walked in, pretending I didn't see anything, and he bought it. I knew that the glass of wine he offered me, with a smile, had something in it. Whether it was a date rape drug or poison, I didn't know. But I did know this. If I let on that I knew, or tried to call the police, I might not make it out of here alive. So when he turned to finish chopping the onion, I switched the glasses. I wavered in the kitchen, black dots dancing in my vision, then I sucked in a breath and walked to the front door, where Sadie stood waiting for me. Come on, I said. Let's go. And that's how the end of the story. So she switched the wine glasses of the wine that was full of poison that her freaking 1-month boyfriend was trying to murder her with. Oh my God, that was written really well, and that was so fucking creepy. I have goosebumps literally all over my body, and fuck that guy. I'm so glad that that girl didn't end up dying. That's so fucked up. Oh my God. That was terrifying, and that was just a really good story. So I think that was posted in the no sleep section, so that was just a fictional story, and it was really freaking creepy. And now we're gonna move on to the next story, which is actually from the same author. My neighbor Scarecrow is starting to scare me. For the 3rd time this week, Ava's piercing cries came from down the hall. I leapt onto the bed and stumbled to her room. Ava, are you okay? The Scarecrow was looking in my window again, she said through sobs. I sat on my bed, wrapped my arms around her, and said it was okay. I said in my calm voice, rocking her back and forth. But inside, I was fuming. We live next to a small family farm. Years ago, when we moved in, it was just a farmstand by the road. Now it's grown into this kitschy weekend destination, complete with animals, a corn maze, and apple picking. Every Saturday, it's kids shrieking and screaming from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was this year. They put the Scarecrow in their corn maze, and it's honestly completely inappropriate. It's not some cute fall decoration with hay for hair and a triangle nose. No, this thing looks like it came out of an 80s slasher film. A tattered plaid shirt, ragged blue jeans, hay sticking out where its hands and feet should be, and the face. It was pure nightmare fuel. A piece of burlap and angry eyes cut into the cloth. A grinning mouth that had been stitched shut with thick twine. And my little Ava's window faced the damn thing. She'd been having nightmares for weeks. Nightmares that this thing was looking in her window, standing in our backyard, rustling through the corn. First thing tomorrow, I'm going over to Betsy Smithens and giving her a piece of my mind. As Ava cried into my shoulder, this is just not okay. I've put up with all the noise, put up with the fact that my backyard smells like a porta potty at a baseball game when the wind blows just right. Put up with the traffic jams in front of my own driveway on weekend mornings. But this is too far. At 7 a.m. sharp, I marched over there. Even though I was dead tired from waking up with Ava, I wound my way through the little farmyard paths until I got to the old farmhouse. Despite the crazy amount of money this farm must have been bringing in, the farmhouse didn't look like it was in great shape. White paint peeled off the corners, and the thick glass windows were clouded with dust. I knocked 3 times, as loud as possible, and a moment later, I heard footsteps. "Oh, good morning, Emily." Betsy's sweet, smiling face poked out through the door. Despite the early hour, her blonde hair was perfectly combed and styled. "Betsy, listen." I forced my voice to be polite. "I need to ask you a favor." "Of course," she said, nodding, her blue eyes bright. "What can I do for you?" "My daughter, Ava, has been having terrible nightmares about that Scarecrow you've been hanging up in the corn. Do you think you could take it down?" Her expression darkened. "Emily," she said with a soft chuckle, "you know this farm's all I got. It's what pays our bills, puts food on our table. After Pete," she trailed off and coughed. "Let's just say we've been in poverty. It's not for the farm. Having 6 kids isn't cheap." I frowned. "Yes, I know. That's why I haven't complained about the noise, the traffic, or the smell. But the Scarecrow, I mean, surely it's not some vital part of the farm. Couldn't you just take it down, at least for a little while? Her blue eyes bored into mine. I stood there on the porch stunned. While Betsy has been a pain sometimes, I didn't really expect her to say no to such a modest request. I mean, surely the Scarecrow isn't some huge critical part of the farm. They just put it up this year. Pete. My anger melted a little. She has been through a lot. I lingered on the porch for a few seconds more and then went home. When Ava got home from school, it was like the nightmare had never happened. She was her usual bouncy self, pulling out her paints and working on her homework. But around bedtime, her anxiety increased. Ava, how would you like to sleep in Mommy's room tonight and Mommy sleep in your room? She stared at me. That's weird, she said finally. Come on, it'll be fun. I was eventually able to persuade her without any mention of the Scarecrow. She was out by 8 and I got settled in her unicorn bed, reading on my phone for a little while. Around 10, I turned out the lights and went to sleep. Something woke me up at 3 a.m. though. I rolled over in my tiny bed, trying to fall back asleep. I could see why Ava was afraid. It was a pretty grotesque sight at her window. The Scarecrow was scary enough in broad daylight, accompanied by the excited shrieks of children. But now, in the quiet of the night, under the full moon, it was horrifying. Silver moonlight outlined the body stuffed to the brim with straw. The arms hung limply on its sides, and the head leaned forward slightly, resting on its chest. The hollow eyes glared out into the darkness. The grin remained stitched with twine. All around it, the cornstalks swayed in the strong wind, as if bowing down to their master. I shuddered. After 10 minutes, I still couldn't fall asleep. I finally got up and walked down the hallway. I checked on Ava, and she was sound asleep. I went downstairs, ate a piece of cheese, flicked on the TV for a few minutes. Then I went back upstairs and settled into bed. I yawned, pulled the covers over myself, and froze. The Scarecrow had moved. Before it had been facing the road. Now it was facing my window. Fear pounded through me. My heart thumped wildly in my chest. There's nothing wrong. It's really windy out. See how the corn is moving like that? A gust of wind must have hit the Scarecrow and turned it. I took a deep breath, then another. That's all that happened. I probably would have stayed up for hours, if not for the fact that I was so tired from Ava's nightmares the last night. My eyelids grew heavy, and despite the fear and the tiny bed, I fell asleep. That morning, I forgot all about the Scarecrow. I happily made Ava waffles before school, sprinkling mini chocolate chips into the batter. I packed her backpack and sent her off to the bus. Then I sat at the kitchen table, finishing my coffee before I had to leave for work. What is that? Something long and golden in the grass. I opened the door and walked out into the backyard. The Scarecrow stared down at me in the bright sunlight, the corn rustling in the wind. I slowly crouched down to inspect what lay in the grass. My heart dropped. It was a piece of straw. So the Scarecrow moves, and Ava's been having nightmares about this fucking Scarecrow being at her window, and if this thing comes alive at night and moves, and the farm next door doesn't want to take it down, I'm really curious what deal they have with this fucking Scarecrow. Is it like a god, and they have to keep it up? Does it eat kids? Does it eat people? Oh my God, there's so many questions. That reminds me of an episode from Supernatural. There was like a really creepy episode with a Scarecrow, and they like sacrificed people to it to have a really good harvest, and that's just terrifying. I hated every second of that. Oh my God, those stories are so fucking creepy, and thank you so much for allowing me to read your stories. They have a little pinned note on their Reddit page just saying like you can read their stories, you don't have to message them. So I didn't actually message them because they have messaging turned off, but they have a little note saying that if you're under like 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, you can read their stuff. So I'm a pretty small channel, so thank you so much to Blair Daniels for allowing me to read your story. Your story was so fucking creepy, and oh my God, that is fucking terrifying. And I'm gonna jump on to the next story. So I have another one from Reddit as well, and this one is from the Reddit author, I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. It's Emil Cullabear, and this is from the True Scary Story section. So this one's titled, My Son's Imaginary Friend Was Real. When my son was 2 years old, he started acting as if he was interacting with something or someone that his father and I could never see. Like throwing toys down the hallway and then running away murmuring words. When I asked what he was doing, he always told me that he was giving toys to the boy for him to play with. There was never anyone there, but it always got icy cold down that hallway and leading into the garage. I'd ask him what the boy's name was, and he would tell me Don was his name. I asked what the boy was doing, and he said waiting for his mom to pick him up. We put it down to an imaginary friend, and nothing more. Harmless, we thought, until he started waking up in the middle of the night, screaming, saying Don won't let me sleep. He keeps tickling my toes. This sent chills down my spine, and so my son would sleep in my bed with me every night. This continued for another 6 months until the real estate notified us that the owner of the house had died and his children would be selling the property and splitting the profit between them, meaning we had to move. After we left, I came across a local news article about the owner of our old rental, stating how much he will be missed by the community. He had been raised by his mother in the house that we were renting since he was a little child. Then I noticed his name and everything came flooding back to me. His name was Don. My son's imaginary friend was our homeowner. He must have been waiting for his mother to come take him to the other side. I'll never look at an imaginary friend the same. And that was the whole story. Holy shit, that's so fucking creepy. Oh my God. I don't remember having an imaginary friend as a kid, and I find that terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying, and that freaks me out. Kids just in general freak me out, so there's that. And the next one that I want to read is from the Spoopy Cjades section, and it's from the Reddit author Fit-AD640, and this one's titled My Encounter with a SW, but I'm not going to actually say the word. Tonight I decided to visit my mom so she could see my grandbaby. I just gave birth to the most beautiful little boy back in September, and she is wild over him. She and I went outside to get some fresh air while my husband stayed inside with the baby. While we were outside, my cat, Bean, came up to see us. We were petting him when all of a sudden, we heard another cat meowing. Bean is very vocal. It was obviously not Bean because we could see him and he wasn't meowing. So naturally, my animal-loving self had to go to this cat's rescue because he sounded hurt or stuck in something. I grabbed my dad's very bright flashlight and started looking through the bush where it sounded like the cat was. My mom and I both looked for this cat for 20 minutes in the pitch black and cannot see anything. No glowing eyes, no fur, nothing. I remember so they call SWs flesh pedestrians, so if that gives you guys a clue of what this is. I remember all the flesh pedestrian stories I've heard and got scared, so I started going back towards the house. As I was moving back towards the house, the cat's meow changed, and it started coming closer. I decided not to look back because it was either a very heavy cat or it wasn't dealing with a cat at all, because the cracking of the branches doesn't seem like something a cat would be able to accomplish. During all this, we seemed to have lost track of Bean. So I stepped back and shined the flashlight towards our pond out back, and to my relief, I saw him. My relief was quickly faded when all of a sudden, I heard more branches breaking, and Bean took off towards the sound. Whatever he was chasing was much bigger than a cat because I heard it thump to the ground with some force. I watched for a minute to see if my cat had miraculously brought another cat out of the bush along with him so I could feel some sort of peace. But my heart sank when I saw Bean's glowing eyes and another set of glowing eyes behind him. Except these pair of eyes were much higher off the ground. I know you may be thinking that it's probably just a deer, but something didn't feel right about it. I truly believe I had encountered a flesh pedestrian tonight, and all I can say is I hope I never have another encounter. And that's how they ended the story. So number one thing that I was thinking of when I read that story first was that kind of sounds like one of those like really large cats that like preys upon things up in trees because it like jumped down and it was really big. So like it could have been a cougar, it could have been just a really, really big wild cat. I'm curious if in your area you have large cats like that. I would be really curious if you commented down below and let us know if those are something that's in the area. Not to say that it couldn't be a flesh pedestrian, but I'm just saying there's lots of cats that like are high up in trees and they sleep up there, and that's how they prey on other animals. They jump down and get you. So curious to know if those are in your area because that could be what you're dealing with. You could be dealing with like a mountain lion or a cougar, and that's scary too. So this is where I'm going to end the video because I have a little heat warning on my screen right now, and I've read about 4 stories. I'm getting tongue-tied. I need to go get a drink of water, and I need to edit this and post it immediately. So I'm going to end the video here. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this. If you guys have any scary stories, paranormal stories, let's not meet stories, or just creepy stories in general, feel free to email me or message me on Instagram. All of my socials are listed in a comment down below and also in my description box, and I will be reading your guys' stories really soon. I just have a lot of Reddit stories to get through. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.